Margaret was alone at home when it happened. She reached for her teacup, but her fingers wouldn't grip. It slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. Confused, she tried to stand, but her leg felt like it wasn't hers. Maybe I just got up too fast, she thought. 10 minutes later, everything seemed normal again. She never called for help. The next morning, she didn't wake up. A full-blown stroke had taken its toll. Doctors later said she had a warning, a mini stroke, but she never knew. The terrifying truth? This happens more often than you think. A mini stroke can come and go in minutes, leaving no lasting signs until it's too late. But today, I'll reveal 6 silent symptoms that could save your life or the life of someone you love. Have you or a loved one ever experienced a sudden, unexplained health scare? Share your experience in the comments. It might help someone recognize the signs in time. If you value life-saving health advice for seniors, hit the like button. This helps spread awareness. And subscribe so you never miss crucial updates that could protect you and your loved ones. Most people think strokes happen suddenly, without warning. But here's what no one tells you. Your body almost always gives you a warning sign. The problem? These signs are so subtle that most people ignore them until it's too late. Picture this. You're having a normal day when for just a few seconds your vision blurs. Maybe you feel lightheaded or struggle to find the right words in a conversation. It passes quickly, so you shrug it off. But what if that wasn't just a bad moment? What if it was a mini stroke, a ticking time bomb that could lead to a full-blown stroke in days, weeks, or months? The reality is terrifying. 1 in 3 people who have a mini stroke will suffer a major stroke within a year. But here's the worst part. Many women over 65 don't even realize they had one. The symptoms can be mistaken for stress, aging, or just being off for a moment. That's why so many people don't seek help, and why so many lives are changed forever by a stroke that could have been prevented. But you don't have to be caught off guard. The key is recognizing the warning signs early, and some of them, they're so unexpected that most people never connect them to a stroke. Up next, I'll reveal 6 of the most overlooked symptoms that could save your life or the life of someone you love. Symptom number 1, sudden weakness or numbness, especially on one side. Imagine you're holding a cup of coffee and suddenly your fingers feel strange, like they don't have the strength to grip it properly. Maybe your arm feels slightly heavy, or you notice a tingling sensation creeping up one side of your body. You shake it off, thinking, maybe I just slept on it wrong. A few minutes later, everything seems normal again, but here's the problem. What if that fleeting weakness was not just a circulation issue? What if it was a mini stroke in progress? One of the most telltale signs of a mini stroke is sudden numbness or weakness, especially when it affects only one side of the body. It can happen in the arm, leg, or even just a few fingers. Some people feel their face droop slightly, while others struggle to lift an object they normally wouldn't think twice about. The key here is that this weakness appears out of nowhere and vanishes just as fast, making it easy to dismiss. Here's what makes this symptom especially deceptive, because it disappears within minutes or hours. Many people assume it was just temporary discomfort. But a mini stroke is like a fire alarm. It's your brain warning you that something is seriously wrong. If you ignore it, a major stroke could be right around the corner. In over 50% of mini stroke cases, patients don't seek medical attention because their symptoms go away. But the risk of a major stroke within the next 48 hours skyrockets if they don't get checked. Take Eleanor, for example. A 72-year-old grandmother. She was watching TV when she noticed her left hand felt weak. She tried picking up her knitting needles, but her grip was off. Thinking she was just tired, she decided to lie down. An hour later, she felt fine, so she didn't mention it to anyone. 2 days later, she suffered a major stroke that left her unable to move her left arm permanently. Doctors told her that her mini-stroke was the warning sign she should have acted on. And here's where it gets tricky. Some mini-stroke symptoms have nothing to do with your arms or face. In fact, one of the most overlooked signs happens right before your eyes. Literally. Let's talk about the next symptom that most people don't even realize is connected to their brain. Symptom number 2, sudden vision problems. You're reading a book, scrolling on your phone, or watching TV when out of nowhere, your vision changes. One eye goes blurry. Maybe you see double for a few seconds, or there's a sudden dark spot in your field of view. It only lasts a moment, so you rub your eyes and move on. But here's what most people don't realize. This could be your brain begging for help. Sudden vision problems are one of the most overlooked signs of a mini-stroke. That's because we tend to blame our eyes, instead of considering that the issue might actually be in the brain. But here's the truth. Your brain controls your eyesight. When a mini-stroke temporarily blocks blood flow, certain parts of the brain don't get enough oxygen. If the area affected is responsible for vision, you may experience blurriness, blind spots, double vision, or even temporary loss of sight in one eye. The biggest mistake people make? They think it's just eye strain or aging vision problems. But normal eye issues don't appear and disappear within seconds or minutes. If your vision suddenly changes, even for a brief moment, it's a red flag that something is happening in your brain. Studies show that up to 30% of mini-stroke survivors experienced vision disturbances before their major stroke, but ignored the warning signs. Margaret, 68, was out grocery shopping when she noticed the labels on items looked fuzzy. She blinked a few times and it cleared up, so she assumed her glasses were smudged. A week later, she woke up unable to see clearly out of one eye. This time it didn't go away. At the hospital, doctors confirmed she had suffered a full-blown stroke, and that her earlier vision problems were actually her first warning sign. And if you think that's concerning, the next symptom happens in seconds, and most people mistake it for a simple bad mood. But it's not just emotions at play, it's something far more serious. Let's talk about it next. Symptom number 3, sudden confusion or trouble speaking. You're in the middle of a conversation telling a story when suddenly your brain blanks. A simple word, one you've said 1,000 times, just won't come out. Or maybe your sentence comes out jumbled, words in the wrong order, as if your tongue isn't cooperating. You pause, shake it off, maybe even laugh it away. I must be tired, you think. But here's the scary truth. This could be one of the earliest signs of a mini-stroke. Sudden confusion, difficulty speaking, or trouble understanding what others are saying is a serious warning sign. That's because speech and language are controlled by specific areas of the brain. When a mini-stroke temporarily blocks blood flow to these areas, it can disrupt your ability to find words, form sentences, or even process speech correctly. The episode may only last a few moments before your brain resets, but that doesn't mean it should be ignored. Here's what makes this symptom so tricky. Most people brush it off as just a moment of brain fog, or one of those senior moments. But a mini-stroke isn't just a glitch, it's a warning shot. And if it goes unchecked, the next time might not be temporary. Trouble speaking or sudden confusion is one of the most common early signs of stroke. In one study, nearly 40% of stroke patients reported experiencing brief episodes of confusion or language problems before their major stroke. Patricia, 71, was chatting with her granddaughter when, out of nowhere, she couldn't get her words out. She knew what she wanted to say, but it was like her mouth wasn't cooperating. Embarrassed, she laughed it off and blamed it on old age. Hours later, she was rushed to the ER. This time, her words didn't come back. She had suffered a full-blown stroke, leaving her with permanent speech difficulties. The doctors told her family that her earlier episode was actually a mini-stroke, her brain's first cry for help. And speaking of frustration, this next symptom can feel just like stress or exhaustion. But it's actually far more dangerous because it can appear normal, even when something serious is happening inside your brain. Let's break it down next. Symptom number 4, sudden severe headache with no obvious cause. A headache isn't unusual. Maybe you're dehydrated, stressed, or haven't had your morning coffee. But this one feels different. It comes out of nowhere, sharp, intense, and unlike anything you've felt before. It's not the dull ache of a tension headache or the slow build of a migraine. It's sudden, almost electric, and then, just as fast as it appeared, it might fade away. That's why so many people ignore it. But here's what most don't realize. A sudden, severe headache can be a major red flag for a mini-stroke. Mini-strokes occur when blood flow to the brain is briefly interrupted. If that blockage happens near pain-sensitive areas, it can trigger a headache that feels completely different from anything you've experienced before. Some describe it as a thunderclap headache, a bolt of pain that strikes suddenly. Others say it feels like their head is being squeezed from the inside. The key detail? There's no obvious cause. No dehydration, no skipped meals, no stress trigger, just pain that hits fast and hard. Here's what makes this symptom especially dangerous. It's easy to dismiss. Many women over 65 assume it's just a migraine or part of aging. But the truth is, a mini-stroke related headache isn't like an ordinary headache. It's your brain signaling distress. Ignoring it could mean missing the chance to prevent a full-blown stroke. A study found that nearly 25% of stroke patients reported having a severe, unexplained headache before their major stroke, but they didn't seek medical help because it disappeared. Linda, 69, had just finished dinner when she felt a sudden, stabbing pain behind her eyes. She had never felt a headache like it before. It lasted a few minutes, then disappeared. Thinking it was just a fluke, she took some water and went to bed. 3 days later, she collapsed in her kitchen. A major stroke had left her unable to move the right side of her body. At the hospital, doctors told her family that her earlier headache was likely a mini-stroke, warning sign that she didn't recognize. If she had gotten checked, she might have been able to prevent what came next. Now, if you've ever felt dizzy out of nowhere, the next sign might hit close to home. Many people brush it off as standing up too fast or not eating enough. But in reality, it could mean something far more serious is happening inside your brain. Let's talk about it next. Symptom number 5, sudden loss of balance or dizziness. You're standing in the kitchen, reaching for a glass of water, when suddenly the room tilts. Your body wobbles, and for a second, you feel like you might fall. You grab onto the counter and steady yourself. Maybe I got up too fast, you think. Or I probably just need to eat something. It passes quickly, so you shake it off. But here's the problem. That moment of dizziness or loss of balance could be a sign of a mini stroke. Your brain relies on steady blood flow to keep you upright, balanced and moving smoothly. If a mini stroke temporarily blocks that flow, especially in the part of the brain that controls coordination, you can feel unsteady on your feet, experience sudden dizziness, or even struggle to walk properly. Some people describe it as feeling like they're suddenly drunk or that the floor beneath them shifted. Most people assume dizziness is caused by low blood sugar, dehydration, or standing up too quickly. While those can be factors, dizziness that comes out of nowhere, especially if it's accompanied by trouble walking, can be a serious warning, sign of a mini stroke. Studies show that nearly 40% of stroke patients reported experiencing sudden dizziness or balance problems in the days or weeks leading up to their major stroke. But because the feeling passed, they never thought to get checked. Mary, 74, was walking to the bathroom when she suddenly felt like she was about to tip over. She managed to grab onto a chair before falling, but the dizziness lasted for a few moments before going away. She assumed she was just tired and went back to bed. 2 weeks later, she had a massive stroke that left her unable to walk without assistance. Doctors later told her family that her moment of sudden imbalance was likely her first warning sign. Had she sought medical attention, she might have been able to prevent the stroke altogether. And finally, the one symptom that almost everyone ignores, but could be the biggest clue to an oncoming stroke. It doesn't feel like a medical emergency. It feels more like an everyday annoyance. But ignoring it could change your life forever. Let's talk about it next. Symptom number 6. Brief loss of consciousness or fainting. One moment you're fine, the next, everything goes black for a second. Maybe you come to right away, feeling confused but otherwise okay. Or you don't completely pass out, but you feel lightheaded, like you're seconds away from collapsing. It's easy to shake it off. Maybe I got up too fast, or I just need to eat something. But here's the reality. This could be a sign that oxygen to your brain was briefly cut off. A mini stroke, also called a TIA, happens when blood flow to the brain is temporarily blocked. If that blockage is severe enough, even for just a few seconds, you can lose consciousness or feel like you're about to. That's because your brain needs a constant, steady supply of oxygen to function. Even the smallest interruption can cause you to momentarily black out or feel like you might. Most people don't connect fainting or brief unconsciousness to stroke risk. They assume it's low blood pressure, dehydration, or exhaustion. But if this happens without an obvious cause, it's a huge red flag that should never be ignored. A study found that fainting episodes in older adults were linked to a significantly higher risk of stroke within the following year. In some cases, it was the brain's first distress signal, one that went unnoticed. Eleanor, 76, was standing in her kitchen when she suddenly felt lightheaded. The next thing she knew, she was sitting on the floor, unsure of how she got there. She assumed she had just been standing too long and didn't think much of it. A month later, she suffered a major stroke that left her unable to use her right arm. At the hospital, doctors told her family that her earlier fainting spell was likely a mini stroke, warning that she didn't recognize. Had she gotten checked, she might have been able to prevent what came next. Now you know the warning signs, but here's the most important part. What should you do if you or a loved one experiences them? Because knowing the symptoms is one thing, but taking the right action can save your life. Let's talk about what to do next. Now that you know the 6 warning signs of a mini stroke, here's the most important thing to remember. Don't wait. Even if the symptoms disappear quickly, you need to act immediately. Mini strokes, or TIAs, are your brain's way of waving a red flag. They might seem harmless because they don't leave lasting damage, but they're a warning. In fact, studies show that up to 1 in 3 people who experience a mini stroke will have a full-blown stroke within a year, and half of them will have one within just a few days. That means the minutes and hours after a mini stroke are critical. If you or a loved one experiences sudden numbness, dizziness, confusion, or any of the symptoms we covered today, take it seriously. Immediate action steps. Recognize the symptoms and don't ignore them. If something feels off, trust your instincts. Even if the symptom disappears, it doesn't mean the danger is gone. Seek medical help immediately, even if the symptoms stop. Call 911 or go to the ER. Don't wait to see if it happens again. Doctors can run tests to determine if you had a TIA and help prevent a full-blown stroke. Prevent future strokes with lifestyle changes and medications, if prescribed. If you've had a mini stroke, your risk of a major stroke is high, but the good news? You can lower that risk with changes like managing blood pressure and cholesterol, eating a heart-healthy diet, staying active, taking prescribed medications. 80% of strokes can be prevented with the right lifestyle changes and medical care. The key is taking action now. And if you're wondering how to lower your stroke risk starting today, I'll be covering that in my upcoming video. I'll break down the best foods, exercises, and daily habits that can protect your brain and heart. So make sure you're subscribed. You won't want to miss it. Let me know in the comments. Did any of these symptoms surprise you? Have you or a loved one ever experienced a mini stroke? Your story might help someone else recognize the signs. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. It helps spread awareness to more people who need this information. Share it with your friends and family, because this could save a life. And don't forget to subscribe for more essential health tips that keep you informed and protected.